Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, shloka 46 to 50.
यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगाधनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाफलहेतवः बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते तस्माद्योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Last week in this chapter we saw shloka number 47, very famous oft-quoted shloka, where he starts talking about karma yoga. In fact, from this portion 47, 48, and then again in 50, he discusses purely karma yoga. He elaborates the same in third chapter of the Gita. Now from this portion 45 to 53 shlokas here, he discusses desire-less actions leading to self-realization. So in 45 he said, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. End of the day, whatever you learn in the Veda Purva Bhaga, the beginning portion of the Vedas, are all pertaining to the rituals to fulfill the desires pertaining to the world. And you get, if at all, you get X amount of joy from the world. First of all, there is no joy. Whatever joy you are experiencing is a joy that is actually coming from the self, reflected through the objects. So you are deceived to believe that it is coming from the object. This we discussed. What did we discuss in this context? Now, you have a desire for chocolate. Desire for chocolate creates agitation till you get that chocolate. In a calm mind, a desire pops up. A calm and happy mind, desire pops up. For chocolate in this case. And slowly, the desire becomes too much. Now agitation is there. So you want to have the chocolate. Now when you have the chocolate, the desire is satiated. You feel happy. You kind of experience some enjoyment. So you think that is come from the object. What Vedanta wants to say is, there are other people who don't have any desire for chocolate, or rather they may have hatred for chocolate. You give them the chocolate, will they get joy? They will in fact get angry. Why are you giving me this? So, to enjoy, you need to have desire, number one. And the desire creates agitation, and the object, when you contact, you feel a sense of satisfaction, enjoyment. So you think it's coming from the object. Now the question Vedanta asks is, if it is coming from the object, like you're believing today, it should give joy to everyone who contacts it. Why is the other fellow who doesn't have desire for the chocolate doesn't get it? They in fact run away from it. So Vedanta says there is no joy in the object. Then it explains further. A person who has desire for the chocolate, and that person contacts the chocolate, what is happening? The very desire for the object, in this example, chocolate, creates an agitation. And the contact with the chocolate removes the agitation. Then you come in contact with the bliss which was there before, that calmness, that peace, that happiness which was there before the desire popped up. So the object that you contacted did not bring you joy or happiness, it only removed the agitation caused by the desire. Then you come in contact with the joy, happiness which is within you. So what is happening is the happiness that you are experiencing within, you wrongly understand as if it's coming from the object. And then once you are deluded to believe so, you start running after the object again and again and again. Your desire goes on increasing. You start chasing the world. You start going on fulfilling, running. Fulfilling, running. Whatever you fulfilled is not enough. So you want more, more, more. You keep on running. This is how people are chasing the limited happiness. So this is what Vedas talk about. Vedas means the beginning portion of the Vedas, the ritualistic portion. They help you to fulfill certain desires pertaining to the world, if at all. Then he says in 46, what is the use of a pond? Yavan artha udapane sarvata samplutotake. Tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. What is the use of a pond in a village when the whole village is flooded? Similarly, what is the use of these Vedas, meaning these rituals, fulfillment of these desires, when a person has realized the self? For a Brahmana who is enlightened. So what he wants to say here is, in the infinite bliss that is within, the small little bliss that you experience when you contact the object is included. Infinite includes the finite. And you have the potential to experience the infinite. Potential to realize the truth. Potential to be enlightened. When you have the potential to be enlightened, when you have the potential to go for the bigger one, why do you want to be satisfied with the small ones? A learned person, a wise person, will rise above the pursuit of the world and start establishing the goal of self-realization. That's what he wants to say. Because when you attain the higher, the lower is included in that. Therefore, he says, infinite includes the finite. Go for the infinite. What do you have to do to go for the infinite? We have studied the formula. What is it? God or infinite plus desires within bracket vasanas equals human beings. So human beings minus vasanas equals infinite or Godhead. So we need to rise above the vasanas, we need to rise above the desires. So now what do you have to do? To rise above the desire, if you simply sit down, you'll only increase the desire because you'll be thinking about it. He talks about it in detail in the 3rd chapter. So what do you have to do? You have to act. But every action has to be preceded by knowledge. In Tamil, in Tirukkural, Thiruvalluvar beautifully says, Enni tuniga karumam, tuninda pin ennuvam enbadu ilukku. You got to gain the knowledge before plunging into action. Any action that you are plunging into, you need to have knowledge. Otherwise, you will sink. You won't prosper. You won't grow. You may seem to be growing, but you won't really. So therefore, first we have to gain the knowledge. Gain the higher knowledge, awareness, and then develop right attitude. With that right attitude, plunge into action, which I discussed last week. Awareness, which is higher knowledge, then attitude, right attitude, then action, the right action, the 3 A's. So first and foremost, when you analyze action, he wants to make you understand about the action and the result, how the whole world is going after the results without knowing how to actually get the result, how to actually draw the result rather than running after the result. The result should come to you rather than you going to the results. Like sugar, what has sugar done? Sugar has merely crystallized itself with sweetness. The sugar has merely crystallized itself with sweetness. Ants go to sugar. Sugar is not announcing, please come here, please come here. No, no advertisement, nothing. It has just crystallized itself with sweetness. And the ants chase the sugar. Similarly, the finite results, the results pertaining to the world, the pairs of opposites, the labha, alabha, all these pairs of opposites have to follow you. What do you have to do for that? You've got to understand how the action is carried out in this world, what happens. You want to understand the science of action completely. So he explains that. He says in 47, Karmani eva adhikaraha, ma phaleshu kadachana. Karmani eva adhikaraha means you have right only with reference to action. Ma phaleshu kadachana, never to the fruit. You have no right over the fruit. What he wants to say is, as an individual who is part of the total, see, the very fact that we say individual means we are part of the total. So this individual is part of this Brahmanda. This Pinda is part of the Brahmanda. So what is in your hands? Action that you can do in the current moment, present moment. Past is dead and gone. Future is yet to be born. The only time that you have is this moment. And in this moment, at any given moment, you have the right over action only. You have a choice to do an action or not to do. Not doing also is an action. I explained this. So you have right over an action. The result of that action, once you have done the action, the result will depend upon so many factors. That is Brahmanda. So, basically in this shloka, what he wants to say is from the relative level when you look at it as an individual, when you look at yourself as an individual, you are a part of the total. You are not everything. So don't assume an ego. Don't have this egoistic attitude. Develop humility. And he says, therefore, you have right over action, not over the result. In the sense, the result depends on so many other factors. So we get the example. You or other, since I am conducting this class, I come into the classroom, I sign in, and then something may go wrong with the internet, or maybe none of you came, so we may not conduct the class. Now, what is in my hands? Coming to the class, switching on the computer, trying to get into the Zoom room, and then conduct the class. Many other factors over which I have no control can go wrong or cooperate. If it cooperates, we'll have the class. If it doesn't cooperate, we may not have the class. So what we need to understand is, I have a responsibility with reference to action. But with reference to the result, I should not assume a sense of indispensability. You understand? Or as if I am causing the result. So for every action there is a result. So when any action is done, there will be result. But for that, so many people are contributing. So many people are contributing. Some we may not even be aware. Silently they are contributing. For example, for this class to happen, sun, moon, many other factors are contributing. Without them, we won't be able to live. So, therefore, don't even try to send your mind to the result. Leave the result to the totality. Focus on the present action. That's what he wants to say. I've dealt with this in detail last week, so I'm just kind of summarizing it now. Then he says, Ma karma phala hetur boho, means you don't become the hetu also. Hetu means motive. Let not the result of action be the motive. Hetu also means cause, reason. May you not be the reason, producer of the result. The karma phala. That is rajasic. Where keeping the motive as the result. He already said, no, do not keep the result as the motive. That's the thought flow that he's been continuing from 45 onwards. Condemn the people who are doing the rituals and everything merely for the fulfillment of the desires from 41 to 44. In 45, he continues to explain. In 47, he says, let not the result of the action be your motive. The moment your attention shifts to the result, to that extent, you won't be able to perform the action in the present. You won't be able to perform the action in the present. You will lack energy to perform that much, because that much energy is wasted in the future. So in this context, I explained, not wasting your energy in the future does not mean you should not plan. You understand? Planning is also part of the present action. It is done by the intellect. So that is in your hands. Planning is in your hands. Tomorrow onwards, we have 5 days Gita lectures by Surandaji in Delhi. We have planned, we have done so many things. Advertisements are released in the newspaper. Everything is being done. Actually, whether it will happen, how successfully it will happen, none of this is in our hands. You understand? So we continue doing our action, completely taking away our attention from the result. So planning is part of the present action. Learning from the past is also part of the present action. So all your energy is focused and channelized in the present with no motive of the result whatsoever. So now, all he's trying to say is, take away the doership. Hetu, when he says hetu, don't be the producer of the result. What produces the result? The doership produces the result. If you have the doership, then there will be enjoyership. If there is no doership, there is no enjoyership. Enjoyership of the result of pap and punya only comes when you do the action with the doership. With the doership, when you do selfish action, you develop pap. With doership, when you do unselfish action, you gain punya. These are the results. So don't plunge into action doing actions with doership attitude. If this class is happening, somebody asks who is conducting this class, as a matter of fact, I may say, yes, I am conducting it. But for this class to happen, so many people have contributed. In fact, if I am talking here, I am only talking because I have learned from my guru. And my guru learned from his guru, and the entire guru parampara has contributed for it. Whenever my ego comes in, then I may make mistakes. But if there is no ego, then the guru parampara talks through you. You just be an instrument. So therefore, when your attention is tremendously in the present, your energy doesn't get wasted. Therefore, the chances of the result happening is more in the case of focused activity than in the case of result-oriented activity. Therefore, he says, having started the action, do not think of the result. And in this universe, nothing other than human being functions with the eye on the result. They all merely do what they have to do and get out. Similarly, a human being also had to do this consciously with this knowledge. So, you have right only with reference to action, never to the result. Do not get attached to the fruit. And then he says, later on he says, do not get attached to inaction also. Ma karma phala eturboho mate sangostva karmani. Don't become attached to tamas, inaction either. You understand? Inaction will not contribute for your growth. Inaction will not contribute for the result. So you need to do your bit. So therefore, what he's saying, responsibility minus the sense of indispensability. Be responsible. Vedanta is misunderstood. Therefore, a lot of people think, Arey yaar, Vedanta will make you inactive. He is very clearly saying, do not get attached to inaction. Focus in the action, not in the result. When your attention goes to the result, to that extent your energy is wasted and you won't do the perfect action. So to that extent you won't get the result. So if you want to get the result, you need to take your attention away from the result and focus it on the action. So what do you have to do? He says that in the next shloka. So in this shloka, all he is saying is, you have right only with reference to action, never to the fruit. Let not the fruit of action be your motive, nor you should give in to tamas, inaction. This much he says. So, in one context, Swami Vivekananda says, an atheist is not one who does not believe in God. An atheist is one who does not believe in himself. Very beautifully he puts it, An atheist is not one who does not believe in God. An atheist is one who does not believe in himself, in his present action. Now, today's action becomes success or failure tomorrow. If today's action is done meticulously with full energy focusing on it, without allowing it to get wasted in the future result, etc., then the chances of the action becoming successful is very, very high. So you take away the idea of success or failure from your head. You're not doing the action for the result. You're doing the action for the sake of action. That's all. So many beings are there in this universe. Everybody have a role to play. And I also have a role to play. I play my role to the best of my ability and get out. So then, the attitude is what? The attitude is dedication. Arpana bhava. So with Arpana bhava, I do the action. Then, when I'm doing it with Arpana bhava, I am not thinking about the results. But the action will have the results. Sometimes it may be according to as we wanted. Sometimes it may be not as we expected. So whatever it may be, you accept it as prasad. So you do the action as arpana, dedication to the total. Just like everyone in the total have to do what they have to do, you also have to do what you have to do. You do that. And whatever comes as a result, you accept. Now, in fact, though we say whatever comes as a result, you accept, whatever comes as a result, you accept, though we keep saying that, the chances of what you expected to happen is high when you focused on your action 100%. So the way you influence the result is by 100% focus on the present with no anxiety over the fruit. with absolute detachment with reference to the fruit. Accepting the fruit as a prasad. Let the results be a byproduct. Do not work for the results. Then what do you work for? What a human being is supposed to work for is where he says, Toda bada socho. Bhagavad Gita is saying, Toda bada socho. All the time your thinking is so low. See, please understand the quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of your thoughts. If the quality of your thought is low, the quality of your life will be very, very poor. If the quality of your thoughts are high, the quality of your life will also be high. Nobody can change this. So what Bhagavad Gita says is, Toda Bada Socho. He beautifully says that in the next shloka.
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते.
So he says, Yogastak Kuru Karmani. Then what do you have to do the action for? If you do not, you should not have the motive for the result. Then how am I supposed to do the action? For what am I supposed to do the action? He says, do the action for the sake of yoga. Yoga comes from the root yuj. Union. Yuj means unite. Unite with the higher, your original self. The true nature, essential self. So therefore, pitch up the goal higher. That's what it means. So he says, Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya here refers to Arjuna. Oh Arjuna, dropping the attachment, renouncing the attachment, be steadfast in yoga, perform action. Steadfast in yoga, perform actions, O Dhananjaya, renouncing attachment. Renouncing attachment to what? To the fruit and to the action. So, what is he saying here? Yogastha Kuru. Don't do for phala. Don't do for the result. Do it for the union with the self. Let the action be atmartha. Understand? Not phalartha. The action should not be for the phalam. Atma. For your sake, you do the action. For your sake does not mean selfish. Your sake means your true self. For the inner satisfaction. Where is the satisfaction? In doing the action to the best of your ability. You understand? See, yoga, when you say union with the self, keeping the goal of the higher, all that is correct. And so what it means is, when you are united with the self, there is zero thought of this little self. What will happen to me? Will I die in ICU or will I die at home? Will I die while I'm sleeping or will I die after so many disease and all that? Will I die like this all the time just thinking about myself? So, he says, Yogastha Kuru. Atmartham. For the sake of the self. Where do you get the satisfaction? Doing the action to the best of your ability. Because result is not in your action. I have done my bit. What has to be done, I have done. So we are, like again the same example, conducting this event. Whatever best we can, we should, we will all come together and do it. That is the satisfaction. The result may be like we expect, may not be. That, in other words, the joy is in the performance of action. When you are performing that action with no attachment to the result, you have forgotten about your little self. That is yoga. When you are in yoga, there is no thought of the little self. See, I remember, I think it's Australian Open. I don't know which year, but finals between Djokovic and Nadal. Both of them had won 2 sets each. In the last set, there is no tiebreaker in the last set. Decided there is no tiebreaker. It went on and on. I don't remember the score now. Some 2018 or something like that. Went on and on. I think finally Djokovic won, I think. I'm sorry, I don't remember the result. I think Djokovic won. And after that, both of them were so physically exhausted. They had to bring the chairs for them to sit. It will never happen after the match, if you see. The players will be standing and then they'll give the cup, they'll go receive, they will give the interview and they go back. But that day, I think they gave them chairs to sit. They sat down. And then when they called to distribute the cup, they went. But they were so physically exhausted. But I'm very sure, in case the match didn't end in 2018 or whatever that was score, if it had extended further, they would have continued. Because while playing, they have completely forgotten about themselves. They are completely enjoying the game. You understand? If you had watched that match, you would have not wanted the match to end. If at all you would have wanted the match to end, purely because you take pity on the body of these two players. Otherwise, you also forget yourself. So when you are in yoga, you are united with the higher. You have no remembrance of this little self, the small I. So he says, therefore, steadfast in yoga, dissolving yourself in the total, do the action. Put the total higher than you. What we do is we put ourselves above the total. In other words, how do you do it from a relative sense? Put your family above you. When we say you put your family above you, you are part of the family. Don't forget. When you work for the family, you're working for yourself. When you work for the country, you're working for yourself also, because you're part of the country. The highest you can work for is the self. That's all he says. So, yogastha kuru karmani. So, the moment you do that, your mind is free from the results. Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Oh, winner of wealth. Arjuna, Dhananjaya means winner of wealth. He brought a lot of wealth to his country, conquering many kingdoms. That is not real wealth. The real wealth is this. What is the use of all the wealth if you cannot enjoy? So, enjoyment is in this moment. So, drop the little self in the total. Renouncing attachment. And then he says, being the same in success and failure. Siddhya siddhyo samaha bhutva. Siddhi asiddhi means success and failure. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. Having become same. Bhutva means having become. So having become samam with what? The results. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. Samatvam yoga uchyate. This samatvam is yoga. This peace is yoga. P-E-A-C-E. So when do you get the peace? When are you in peace? We need to understand, when am I in peace? When am I torn into pieces? P-I-E-C-E-S. P-E-A-C-E, then P-I-E-C-E-S. When am I torn into pieces? When I'm chasing the desires further breed, then my mind is agitated, running helter-skelter, I get torn into pieces. When I become peaceful, when do I become peaceful? When I'm focused and working towards the higher. When I'm not bothered about the results. And also when I'm doing the action without the doership. There's a beautiful story. Once a king who was ruling his kingdom very well, but he was tremendously stressed, agitated. He lost his peace. So he said, yeah, I have to give priority to my peace. So I want to go to Himalayas, because he was told there is a Muni, sage there, who is meditating. If he goes there and surrenders to him, he might teach him how to be peaceful. So he said, let me go to him. So he left. And when he went there, he met the sage, prostrated to the sage and said, Swamiji, I am the ruler of this kingdom. I've lost my peace. I've come to gain that peace. I'm told you will teach me how to gain that peace. You will teach me some meditation techniques from which I can gain peace. He said, excellent, no problem. I will teach you. But you said you're the king. Now, if you come here and start learning, it will take few years to probably master the techniques, and then you will become peaceful. By the time, till the time, who will rule the kingdom? So then the king said, yeah, that's a good question. So he said, you please appoint somebody as the king till you can become peaceful. He said, the best person I can think of, because now I understood, whoever I appoint as the king should be peaceful. And I can only think of you. So I'll appoint you as the king, he said. And when the king is saying something, the sage cannot deny that. So the king made him the king. Sage has now become the king. Now the sage has become the king, and the king has become an ordinary citizen. Now he said, okay, please teach me the techniques now, how to become peaceful. Now the sage who had become the king, he said, hey Baba, listen, now that you made me the king, now I have to think how to rule the kingdom first, because I have no experience. So if I have to teach you these techniques, I have to appoint somebody to go and rule on my behalf as a CEO. Then I can teach you. Then the best candidate I can think of in this country to do that is you, because you only have the best experience. So I am appointing you as the CEO. So now the sage has become the king, and the new king, the sage, has appointed the old king as a CEO. Now this new king, whatever he says, the subject old king has to follow. So he went back and ruled. Same thing he was doing, but what he was doing, he was doing as CEO. Not as a king, not as an owner. When the ownership was taken away, instantly became peaceful. So that is all he's teaching in these two slokas. It's a very interesting shloka, these two. And in fact, the 50th shloka, all these three has to be taken together. So he says, Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Then you will be calm, composed, serene, balanced. That balance of mind is called yoga, he says. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Being the same in success and failure, evenness is called yoga. So from where that evenness will come? The evenness will come when you take the mind towards the higher. So the peace will come when you take the mind towards the higher. You will automatically be peaceful when you have surrendered to the higher. If your attention shifts to the lower, automatically you will be torn into pieces. This samatvam is called yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Beautiful. He gives another definition for yoga, which is in 50th shloka. There he will say, yoga karmasu kaushalam. What that is, we'll discuss when we go to that shloka. So, in fact, both has to come together. So, what is he saying? Karmani eva adhikaraha ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturboho ma te sangostva karmani yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Now, when you put them together, beautifully the jigsaw puzzle is sorted out. So what he's saying, you have right over the action only, never to the result. Let not the fruit of action become your motive. Also don't fall into inaction. If my fruit of action should not be the motive, then what should I do? Keep the higher goal. Do the action, not phalartham, but atmartham. Yogastha. Understand? For the sake of the inner self, you do the action. For the tripti of the inner self, you do the action. The tripti of the inner self will happen when you do the action, which is your swadharma, which is your obligation, which you have to do to repay as your gratitude to the total. Then there is satisfaction that I have done what has to be done. So your mind is completely free from the results. And you also, having understood that the results are contributed by so many factors, you also take away the doership out of equation. Then what will be there? Peace. The mind will be peaceful. Only when you are peaceful can you think clearly. And when you can think clearly, you can act properly. When you act properly, you will get the results. If your mind is disturbed, you can't think clearly. If you can't think clearly, you won't act properly. If you don't do the correct action, you will not get the results. And when you don't get the results, that will agitate you more. That agitation will take away your clarity further. It'll disturb you. You won't be able to be clear in your head. You will do wrong action more agitation, more failures. You will be caught in a vicious cycle. But in peace, you have clarity. With clarity, you do the right action. That action will bring the correct results. That will give you peace. You will go in virtuous cycle. So you can either go in virtuous cycle or you can go in a vicious cycle. That is in your hands. It is entirely in your hands. So it is extremely important to keep yourself peaceful. That is your obligation. In fact, Swami Ramtita says, your only obligation in life is to keep yourself self-poised, self-pleased. And he says, if you cannot keep yourself peaceful, happy, self-poised, self-contented, do not step out of your room and bring your melancholy to the streets, he says. Do not bring your melancholy to the streets. Because looking at you, other people may also become very sad. So the best service you can do if you are agitated is to keep yourself inside the house, he says. So if you wish to step out, you first make sure you are peaceful, he says. Your primary obligation in life is to be self-poised, self-pleased. See, this is very true actually. You know, when we say health in Sanskrit, what is the word for health in Sanskrit? Swastha. Swastha means what? Swa means one's own. So swastha means when you are in your own being. When you are yourself. When you are yourself, you are healthy. When are you yourself? When you are in paripurnata. The moment you fall from that and chase the desires, you fall out of health. And then all nonsense starts. Therefore, just be yourself. Steadfast in yoga, perform actions. You should perform actions for that sake only, not for the sake of results. Oh Dhananjaya, oh Arjuna, gain this knowledge. When you gain this knowledge, then you are really wealthy. Otherwise, you are not wealthy. You have accumulated maybe. You have maybe accumulated a lot of wealth, but you are not really wealthy. Why? Because the attachment is still there. So he says, renouncing attachment. To what? To the results and to the action I am doing. And I have to get these results. Don't have these two. Either I am doing, I have to achieve these results, I'm doing this action to fulfill my desires. So completely take away the attachment to the little self. And simply do it for the higher self. When you are doing the action, there should be no thought of this little self whatsoever. So the little self should be completely dissolved in the higher. Thus, when you function, that is called karma yoga. And that will bring you peace. The beauty is, you will be peaceful, you will also be achieving the results, isn't it? And the fact that your mind was not in the result, the mind will also go higher and higher. In the sense, the desires will drop. That's the idea. So, work for the higher. Don't work for the lower. The higher includes the lower. Lower does not include the higher. How to work for the higher? This is how you have to work for the higher. Working for the higher means what? Atma Tripti. For Atma Tripti you work. Don't try to satisfy the mind. Mind is where the desires are. Mind is where the desires come from. The likes and dislikes. So don't try to satisfy the mind. You understand? Don't try to fulfill the desires of the mind. Do it for the Atma Tripti. Do it Atmanta. What is that? Whatever is your nature. Earlier you already said, Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya. Similarly, whatever you are, in the total, every part matters. Every part matters. You are a particular part. You play that part. You play that part to the best of your ability. And whatever results come, accept them. And keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. So this is all he's saying. This is called Karma Yoga. And this way what happens is, you will finally dissolve all the vasanas and realize the self also. So yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. So when you put it in a relative order, what do you say? Fix an idol, work for the higher, don't think of your results. This is all you have to do. Intellect should pitch up the higher goal, mind should surrender to the goal, body should act in that direction towards the goal. That's all. Something higher. Higher includes the lower. Whenever we say higher, 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 sometimes people ask, what is this higher business? Higher means it includes the lower. The self, when you work for the higher, the little self is included. Like when you work for the family, you are part of it, no? A lot of people say, hey, when I work for my family, what about me? Are you not part of the family? When you work for the country, are you not part of the country? When you work for the humanity, are you not part of the humanity? When you work for all the species, are you also not part of it? So just take the attention away from this little self. This is the thing. That's all he's saying here. The whole thing, have faith in the action, man. Have faith in the total. How can the action that is done to its fullest not bring the result? So if the action is definitely going to bring the result, why bother about the result? And while doing the action, if you are bothered about the result, then you won't be able to do the action to the fullest. Then again, from that point of view also, why bother about the result? So therefore, a person who really understands how the laws work, how the totality works, when a person understands how Ishvara works, Ishvara means the total. Phaladata, the results are given according to each one's action. So when we understand that, our attention completely shifts back to the action rather than the result. And we simply do it with no prefix, no suffix, with no doership whatsoever. When the doership is taken away, when the attachment to the results is taken away, when all this is taken away, that is called Tyaga. Tyaga is not renouncing action. Tyaga is renouncing all these extra paraphernalia, sitting on the action and making that action heavy. Responsibility doesn't make the action heavy. The sense of indispensability that is sitting over the responsibility makes it heavy. You understand? As a part of the total, there may be certain responsibility a part has to play. But when the part doesn't understand the knowledge of the total and assumes a doer shape, then the sense of indispensability is sitting upon that action. When the sense of indispensability is sitting upon that action, that heaviness you start feeling. And that is what you're removing when he says, be detached. Sangam tyaktva. I have to do. I have to get the results. Who will do it if I'm not doing? All these thoughts you take away. All these are attachments. Isn't it? So that you take away. That's all he says. So, yogastha kuru. Yogastha kuru. Be a yogi, he says. Do it for the sake of yoga. Yoga means uniting with the self. So do it for the sake of the self. Don't do it for the sake of the world. See, the whole world is today, when I say whole world, majority is concerned about what is other fellow thinking about me, trying to please the other. We are not born here to please anybody. That's why Swami Ramtirtha says, your only obligation is to be self-pleased. Self is capital S, not small s. Capital S. You understand? Pleasing the higher self. For the Atma's sake, not for the sake of the little self, the mind. Then, you will take away your attention from the results. You're enjoying the action. You don't even remember the results. In fact, when a sportsman plays the game, is fully focusing on the ball. It never looks at the, ideally speaking, should never look at the, the scoreboard. Simply plays the game. When the focus is so much on the game, he is able to easily, especially cricket, if you see the feet moves very easily. It's like dancing. When the fellow's attention shifts to the result, feet is not moving. He's not able to move freely. He has to drag it. When they say he's out of form, he's not able to go reach the ball, or he's not able to go back and defend or whatever. He's not able to move. Why? What is happening? He was able to move very well up to 90 or 99. Suddenly when he's come to 90 or 99, why is it that he's not able to move now? The attention has now shifted to the result. The sense of indispensability, everything has come. The focus has gone. The energy is depleted. Now he is valuing himself based on the result. See, a person who has self-respect and self-confidence, he assesses himself with reference to his potential and his execution of the potential, not on the result. See, result, please understand about this result, something you must understand, all of us. It's a very funny thing, success and failure and all that. See, in tennis, they have something called as ATP tournaments and they have Grand Slams. Grand Slams are played for five-setter games, all the Grand Slams. ATP tournaments are three-setters. So in three-setter match, if you win two, you're a winner. In five-setter, you're a winner only if you win three games. Three sets, not games. Isn't it? So even if you won first two sets you won, doesn't mean you're a winner in Grand Slam. For the first two sets, if you win in ATP, you are a winner. So this winner, loser, all these very relative terms. First two sets, if you win, you are a winner in ATP. First two sets, if you win in Grand Slam, you are not a winner yet. You need to win one more. And the chances are you may not win the third one. The other fellow may win the third one. And the other fellow may win the fourth one. And the fifth one also the other fellow may win. Many matches happened like that. So, if it is seven-setter, Supposing they say, "Arre, no 5-setter and all, 7-setter karo." Then even if you win the first 3, you're not the winner. So this winner, loser, all this success, failure is all from the external viewpoint. Never fall for that. A wise man never allows himself or herself to be judged by the outside factors. You understand? Outside factors keeps on changing. Once upon a time, they used to value gold a lot. People invested in gold, they hardly bought any lands. Now people buy lands, not gold that much. Maybe not even gold and land now. Maybe share. I don't know what else they buy. These things keep changing. What is permanent? You are permanent. What is permanent? Your potential is permanent. What is permanent? Your actions are permanent. Your execution is permanent. That is all in your hand. Just focus on that. That's all he says. Then you are performing as a yogastha. Otherwise, you are performing as a bhogastha, who is interested in the results. Let's conclude the class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.